downside, digital nomad, traveling therapist life, got to tell you, the Wi-Fi was awful. I mean, this is the worst Wi-Fi I've had anywhere we've been. And of course, I always tell you guys, do your due diligence, ask, how's the Wi-Fi? Give me a speed test. And, I can't even tell you how many times I've even said this on here. People are like super nice and they come back and say, this woman in particular said, oh yes, the internet's great. I do Zoom meetings from there all the time. So, no speed test, no evidence of this. I'm just taking this woman's word for it. Hi, I'm Kim Tolson and I'm the traveling therapist. It's my passion to teach therapists how to navigate online private practices and multiple income streams so they can travel the world. I'm a digital nomad with a virtual insurance-based private therapy practice and a multi-six-figure coaching business. I'm obsessed with entrepreneurship and developing tools that can help therapists live an adventurous lifestyle. In this podcast, I will discuss my journey as a digital nomad. I'll chat with other traveling therapists and help you navigate the complexities of running an online insurance-based practice. I'm so glad to have you with me on this journey. Hey everybody, so welcome back to another episode of the Traveling Therapist Podcast. So I'm super excited to be here today to do my digital nomad update. I usually do these every month, but I did not do it last month at all because I had a lot going on and just frankly, it was just too much. To be honest, I try to stay up to date with these. I'm so glad to do it because I really do love bringing you guys these episodes. But I'm going to tell you what's been going on with me, and then you'll probably understand better why I didn't even record the one from last month. So let's see here. So I think my last digital nomad episode ended with me at the middle of January. My mom and we embarked on this 14-day cruise through the Caribbean, which was great because she loves to travel. She doesn't have a lot of people to travel with, and she can't really walk a lot because she has a defibrillator, a pacemaker. She walks slow. She gets tired easily. She's got COPD. She's getting up there in age. So we have to pick trips like this that are easier for her to manage. So we did this 14-day cruise through the Caribbean. So we went all over the place. We went to Cozumel, the Caymans, Panama, Colombia, Belize, Costa Rica. It was a really cool trip. We got to get off, the boat and do excursions in a couple of places. I had been to Cozumel before, so we didn't really do anything there. We just kind of got off and went to Senior Frogs. If you've ever been, you probably know about that place. It's like a tourist trap in the Caribbean. It's all over the Caribbean, but it's kind of fun. So we stopped and did that. But, we went to all these different places. We got to go through the Panama Canal, which was really neat to see how that works and just learn like cool facts about the Panama Canal. I really like that. Belize, we went, I guess you would call it deep sea fishing. We didn't catch anything huge, but we did go out into the ocean and caught like 8 or 9 fish, which is super exciting for me because the Tolson family is notorious for never catching fish. And I felt pretty proud of myself that day, even though they make it super easy for you. So we did that. We went through, the water was beautiful, pretty blue in most of the places. The cultural experiences were really cool. We did a party bus in Cartagena, Colombia, which was really fun, singing on the bus. They had like a bottle of rum for every single person on there, and it was like 9 a.m. But it was fun. We had a good time doing that. So I enjoyed that. But unfortunately, when I got off the ship, that was January 17th, 2023, I had this dizzy feeling that started, when you get off a boat and you're sort of like feeling like you're still moving with the boat. Well, I got off and I was like, okay, this will clear up in a couple of days because I've had that before, but it did not. And it's still persisting since January 17th. I'm recording this on April 4th. So every day, all day, I have this feeling like dizzy and falling backwards. So I don't know what it is. I mean, I've got a few answers now, and I want to walk you through it a little bit just because it has been a learning experience for me being a digital nomad on how to manage this health condition. It's been super frustrating, but after some extensive research, Googling like crazy. There is something called mal-disembarkment syndrome that, basically is like you can have bad effects after you disembark off a sea vessel. It's a rare condition. I don't even know if that's what it is. I'm kind of calling it that because it started that day I got off. But aside from that, I've gotten some other answers, but it has not been easy. So, I have a residence basically in the state of Florida through my mom's address. That's how I manage my address. And I found an insurance policy that allows me to basically be in network anywhere I am in the United States. So that's helpful because basically anywhere I go, I can just like pop into an urgent care or try to set up an appointment with a doctor or a specialist if I need to. But it's not that easy because specialists have wait lists and I move every 2 to 3 weeks. So this has been really tough finding doctors. I've had to cancel plans. I've had to stay back in some places when Ken was moving on already, because we already had accommodations booked in our next place. So, the only real answer was for him to go because he has to work. And he can't just be like hanging out in a hotel. So, and we have 2 cars now. I'll get into that a little bit. But anyway, so it's been quite the adventure. So, my determination to overcome this thing has basically taken me to MD Live, where I have access to PCPs, chiropractor, an urgent care, an emergency room, an ENT specialist in Panama City, and an audiologist. So all of that basically was a waiting game. I had to wait to get into all these places, of course. I wouldn't expect to get in next day or anything like that, but it did take a lot of persistence on calling a bunch of different places, trying to get in, calling to see if there were any cancellations, because basically we were in Panama City Beach for 30 days and then we were moving on, but this was going on right then. So I had to figure out how to work that out. So I found an ENT place. They found a place for me to do an MRI. I had to wait almost, I think, 2 weeks for the MRI because in between then I had a conference in Costa Rica at the Thrive Summit where I was a sponsor. All of my business besties were going to be there. I was on the committee. We had all these duties we had agreed to do. So I had all this stuff. And while I was super dizzy constantly, it's not debilitating, thank God, because now I've read stories about people that can't even get out of bed because they're so dizzy with this stuff and they can't eat and they're having to be hospitalized. So thankfully, it's not that bad. It's just this constant feeling of falling, which sucks. And my balance is off, when I'm trying to walk and do things. And it makes it hard to exercise and that sort of thing. Anyway, so finally I got an MRI and the audiologist put me in this chair where they spin you and they test your balance and look for this thing called nystagmus with your eyes, how they move. So anyway, all of that came out of that was the MRI said I had a sinus infection, which I always do because I have numerous autoimmune disorders. So of course they put me on antibiotics for that. And I was hopeful like maybe it's just a sinus infection, but that didn't clear it up. The audiologist said, this looks like a vestibular disorder, basically that your vestibular nerve is inflamed, the left peripheral vestibular nerve. And there's not much you can really do about that except for these vestibular rehabilitation exercises. And then they also said I needed to go see a neurologist to follow up on that. So guess what? There's no neurologist that you can get into unless you want to wait about a month and a half. So here I am trying to coordinate a neurologist with where we're traveling to because, after Panama City Beach or Rosemary Beach is actually where we were. We were moving on to Gulf Shores, Alabama. And then after that, right now, we're headed out to California. We're traveling across the country right now. So I did, book some appointments with some neurologists. And then I also put a vulnerability post in the Traveling Therapist Facebook group. A vulnerability post in the Traveling Therapist Facebook group. And one of the members reached out to me and she said, my husband is a neurologist in Atlanta. And if you can get there from Alabama, he will see you. He'll get you in and make it work for you. And I was like, oh my God, you're kidding me. So, Atlanta was 5 hours away. So I called this guy and his secretary. She said, yeah, we'll get you in. I mean, it's private pay. We'll try to give you a reduced rate because I think his private pay rate was like $900 an hour or something like that. But we'll get you in. So I drove dizzy to, I know that's not the best thing, but I drove dizzy to Atlanta, saw the guy, and basically he was stumped as well. And he basically said, let's try Sudafed since you've tried meclizine, scopolamine, Valium even. One of the doctors gave me Valium, which just obviously made it way worse. Let's try Sudafed. So I tried Sudafed for 2 weeks and that didn't work. So now I'm back on a prednisone pack. That hasn't worked. So I'm just trying to do these vestibular exercises and, hoping that this will somehow stabilize eventually. I did have another cruise booked in October with my mom, but I canceled it because I'm just, obviously not going to get on a boat again. So I wanted to share that story just to say, as a digital nomad, make sure you have good health insurance that covers you wherever you are, even if it's international. There's tons of plans for this. Episode 6 of this podcast will walk you through how to find that, and then you just don't plan for this stuff. So it changes, or it's changed our plans somewhat, I mean, I've had to drive to Atlanta. I've had to stay back in Panama City Beach. I've had to just do a bunch of things I never thought I would have to be doing to try to get medical care. So it's been super frustrating, but I wanted to tell you guys that to, one, share my experience, how I've navigated it, and then also hopefully, encourage you to make sure you have really good health insurance if you're going to try to live this lifestyle at all. Okay, so enough of my sob story. I feel like these episodes start to turn into sob stories after a while because there are some downsides, but I really, feel like it's important to share the ups and downs of this journey so it doesn't just seem like it's all perfect, because it's not. I mean, it's fun, it's cool, we've done a lot, but it's challenging. There's definitely like a different kind of stress that comes with living this lifestyle where you're just moving all the time. All right, so I want to tell you some of the fun parts. So in January, we were staying in this beautiful house in Rosemary Beach. I don't know if you guys have ever been there. It's on the Panhandle on the Gulf Coast. It's Rosemary Beach, Watercolor, and Alice Beach. They're all along this area called 30A in Florida. It's just like the coolest town. It's probably my favorite beach town in Florida that I've been to. I haven't been to all of them, but this is the one that I like the best so far. Each of these little beaches is like a combination of just this beautiful coastal scenery. The water is crystal blue. The architecture is so cute. It's like they look like little German towns. Well, at least Rosemary Beach does. And then Watercolor is like, their mission in Watercolor was to build it into nature. So all of the houses are like surrounded by these beautiful trees and these paths. And it's gorgeous there. I just love it so much. If you get the chance, definitely go. So we were there for a month. During that time, I was on the cruise part of the time, which was kind of a bummer. But anyway, it's gorgeous. Favorite town, hands down. I hope you can check it out if you can. So let's see. So as I mentioned before, during all this travel, right in the middle, I also traveled to Costa Rica for 8 days for the Thrive Summit. It was a really fun event, sort of like half learning summit, half retreat. We had a great time despite being dizzy the entire time I was there. Tons of speakers. There were CEs available. We, went on a catamaran cruise. I got to meet a lot of traveling therapists that I knew from the Facebook group. It was just really fun to be able to hang out with everybody. Costa Rica is beautiful. It's like a lush rainforest. The beaches are pristine. Wildlife, there's monkeys, there's parrots just flying around you all the time. We're right there on the ocean in this hotel called El Mangrove, which was really nice. I didn't even leave the resort when I was there. Probably because I had just been on that cruise and taken so many Caribbean excursions, and I had the dizziness going on. So I just really chilled and tried to make the best out of a situation since I wasn't feeling great. And as always, Megan Smith-Gunnell, the host of the retreat and my best business bestie, was in charge of the whole thing, and it just went off without a hitch. It was just perfect. It was so much fun. The property was beautiful. We had a blast. Amazing dinners, and really just enjoyed meeting everybody and getting to hang out and spend some time with people. That was Costa Rica. And then I came back and we were in the tail end of Rosemary Beach and all that. So I got another, couple weeks in there. And Ken's mom came to visit us too, which was really fun. She pops in every once in a while and hangs out with us for a little bit. Super fun. We went shopping and did like girl stuff that I don't do when I'm with Ken, unless I'm by myself, because he could care less. But we had a lot of fun. There's tons of really great shopping and restaurants where you can go taste wine and have appetizers and shop. So that was fun that she came to visit. So anyway, after that, our next stop was going to be Gulf Shores, Alabama. So we'd never been, and we heard the water was beautiful there. It was on the Gulf Coast. So we decided to book another month there. So just a little like moving back to the beginning of the winter, we had this bright idea that we were going to do these Airbnbs on the ocean all over Florida. Like, wouldn't that be fun? You could swim in the ocean. And, we did not even think that the water was going to be too cold in most of Florida. So that was a huge mistake on our part. Apparently, now we know the only part of Florida where you can swim in the ocean in the winter is really more like South Florida, which is where we were before we even became digital nomads. So we had this idea, we'll hit this town and be able to swim and have a great time, but it just didn't work out like that. We did have a place in Sanibel booked, which I think probably would have been warmer, but the hurricane came through and basically wiped out all of Sanibel. So we had to quickly move to another place, which was like, way colder, Ormond Beach. So we did that instead because of the hurricane. Hey everyone, I wanted to break in here real quick and let you know about a company called Alma. As you may know, I have a variety of resources available to therapists who want to bill insurance in their private practice. I have a comprehensive membership to teach you how to bill on your own, but I also refer mental health practitioners to companies like Alma who can do your billing for you if you don't want to hire billers or do it on your own. If this sounds like the kind of support you need in your insurance-based private practice, consider joining Alma. Get the tools and support you need to manage and grow your private practice, accept insurances, and focus on what matters most, delivering high-quality care to your clients. I've shared my personal referral link in the show notes of this episode if you want to schedule an appointment and check them out. So anyway, we've decided now that next winter, everywhere we go is going to be on a Caribbean beach somewhere down in the Caribbean. And we did just book a month in the Dominican Republic, which is super exciting. We got an Airbnb there right on the water. Before we became digital nomads, we used to travel, or before I had an online practice, when I had a brick and mortar practice, we would travel almost like 8 weeks a year. And Dominican Republic was almost always where we wanted to go because we just loved it down there, Punta Cana. But we got the Airbnb in Las Terrenas. So we've never been there. We're excited about it. It looks beautiful. We've been researching it. Stumbling block we've really run into is the Dominican Republic has a 30-day visa limit. So the woman that owns the Airbnb, she was like, who cares? If you stay longer, you just pay for more days on your passport. And I think we looked it up and Ken said it was like $7 a day or something if you overstay your passport. But that's a little scary to us. It's like, okay, do they throw you in jail? What happens? Can you get back in the United States if you want to? Like, we're not sure what happens if you just decide to overstay your visa. But there is an application online where you can apply for an extension, I think, for up to 120 days. So we probably are going to look into that and maybe just do some other places in the Dominican, or maybe island hop. We don't know. Island hopping seems really cool, but it's expensive. The flights, like to go from one island to the other, even like we were like, okay, so we're in Dominican Republic and we want to go to St. Croix. I'm looking up flights and it's like, that's not going to work, because basically the flight wants to take me out of the Dominican Republic up to New York with a 22-hour layover and then bring me back down to St. Croix. So it's sort of complicated. It's probably more like needing to find a boat or something, and we know how boats are going for me lately. So we're not sure about that, but we're definitely made a pact to ourselves that we're never going to be somewhere in the winter where we can't swim in the ocean where the water is not warm enough for us to swim, because that's what we love to do, be on the beach and swim in the water. And we couldn't do it this winter. So it was kind of like, gosh, we spent extra money to be oceanfront. And it's really pretty, but it's just not, you can't get in the water. So it's kind of a bummer in a lot of ways, when you're a beach person that loves to get in the water like we are. And I know some people might be listening and be like, yeah, but you were like oceanfront. Isn't that good enough? Yeah, it was fantastic. And I don't want to minimize that at all. Just really wishing we could swim too. So we're going to make that happen. So we're learning along the way, as I'm sure many of you have that are already traveling therapists, or even if you're thinking about doing this, it's just like a work in progress, like all the planning and researching, and it just evolves into something, and then you learn from it. And if you want to keep going with the lifestyle, you keep going and you just make adjustments. So that's what we're doing right now. Let's see. So what was I going to tell you? So Gulf Shores, Alabama. So we then left Rosemary Beach and came over to Gulf Shores for a month. It's gorgeous. The beach is gorgeous. The downtown is kind of like, I don't know. It's like Myrtle Beach, if you've ever been there, or something like it's got putt-putt and restaurants and like a Hooters. It's like a beach strip town. It's got some a cool little oceanfront place called the Hangout, where they've got live bands every night. And, it was gorgeous. It just wasn't that warm. I think the highest was 75, but some days it was like 55 and rainy and cold. But it was an oceanfront condo. So, waking up every day to the ocean was pretty amazing. I saw dolphins quite a few times out in the water. It made me happy. But downside, digital nomad, traveling therapist life, got to tell you, the Wi-Fi was awful. I mean, this is the worst Wi-Fi I've had anywhere we've been. And of course, I always tell you guys, do your due diligence, ask, how's the Wi-Fi? Give me a speed test. And, I can't even tell you how many times I've even said this on here. People are like super nice and they come back and say, this woman in particular said, oh yes, the internet's great. I do Zoom meetings from there all the time. So, no speed test, no evidence of this. I'm just taking this woman's word for it. So we get there and the speed is like 1 up and 2 down. If anybody knows what that means, it's like the slowest internet you've ever thought of. And we're in this place for a month. So we do have this like backup thing called Solus. It's Solus Skyrim. If you look it up on Amazon, it's like this orange dot, basically, that's a hotspot. You can turn it on and it searches for the nearest cell tower and, finds a signal, the strongest signal in the area, and connects to it, basically is how it works. So, I've got AT&T on my phone. Ken's got Straight Talk Wireless. This condo had basically public Wi-Fi in the condo. Each unit had a number on it, but it wasn't even password protected. So it was really bad. Like, you can't even see a client without a VPN on when you're in a place without a password protection. So anyway, the Solus didn't even work. It was like we were just in a dead zone. I mean, the Solus worked sometimes, but it wasn't reliable or predictable. So what did I do? As you guys have heard me say a million times, I started researching the libraries. So there are 3 libraries there, and they all have tons of stuff going on. So basically, I had to make a list of my schedule. I had to call each of these places. I had to figure out which ones could let me in which days into a private study room so I could use their fast Wi-Fi. And, it's a coordination nightmare, really. So, I've got my whole schedule planned. I'm like, okay, I've got to be at the Orange County Library, which is Orange Beach, Alabama, about 20 minutes from our place. I've got to be there on Monday from 9 to 3, but they've got an event at 1, but I've got this thing at 6 p.m. that I really need to do. So I'm going to have to, go sit out front of this other library that I know the signal reaches out to the parking lot, like that kind of thing. So, I just got so fed up. I finally messaged the woman on Airbnb and said, this is ridiculous. This internet's unusable. I'm having to leave every single day. This kind of kills the work from home, look at the beach vibe, that you're expecting to have when you're paying. I mean, we paid almost $4,000 to stay in this place. So anyway, she did give us $1,000 refund after I basically said, you need to give us a refund because this is terrible. And we didn't know it was spring break there, which, you would think somebody would realize that March and on the Gulf Coast would probably be spring break. So that was interesting. There was a lot of college kids staying in this place too. So, I don't know. I keep thinking we're finally one day going to figure out like this special algorithm to the perfect Airbnb, and it's like cost ratio with Wi-Fi availability, like we're going to find this perfect like confluence of all of these things coming together. And sometimes we do. Like we've had a couple places that have been perfect. So here's to hoping. Right now I'm sitting in Houston, Texas, where we decided to stop for 2 nights because Ken is an Astros fan and had never been to the Astros Stadium to see a game. So we are driving to California, and we happen to find an Airbnb here for like $300 for 2 nights. The hotels were all like $300 a night because the Final Four is going on right now. Well, it just ended last night. And we wanted to see the Astros game, so we were like, let's see if there's an Airbnb. So we found this place. It's 3 stories. The Wi-Fi is 238 megabits per second. It's super fast. I couldn't believe we found it. So we stopped here instead of getting a hotel. So sometimes, just a little tip, sometimes if you're traveling like a road trip, sometimes it's worth it to just check Airbnb and see if there's any good deals where you could just actually be in a house and not have to be in a hotel, if you want to stop a couple nights and check a place out. So that leads me to our plans for the next, 4 months, I think we have planned out. And then, the month in the Dominican in the winter. But as of right now, we're headed towards California. We're going to be staying in a place near Joshua Tree. And then we're going to be going to Yosemite. And then we're going up to Lake Tahoe. And then we haven't booked this yet, but I'm thinking Bend, Oregon, because I've heard that's gorgeous. And then from there, we're going to go over to Yellowstone. And then I'm hoping maybe Minnesota and Michigan to see maybe Megan and Lisa Lovelace, because they live up that way. Maybe see them along the way. I've never been through there. And then we're going to make our way back down to Miami, slowly stop in Virginia to see our family, and then hit up our flight in Miami to go to the Dominican Republic in October. So that's our plan for right now. I'm excited about it. And from the entrepreneurial perspective, I like to always keep you guys updated on that stuff, like what's happening, what's going on in my business. So I'm still seeing my clients, of course, but I'm getting ready to launch the Traveling Therapist membership. I can't give you more details than that, but I've literally planned 2 years of content for this thing. I've already got it written out. I don't know when the launch date's going to be. I've got a team. I've got Sakshi, who's my business manager. She helps me like setting up all the like sales pages and all that stuff. But I put like super low ticket, like for founding members. I'm thinking I don't even want to say yet. I'm thinking $17.99 a month for this membership, which is going to be a steal once you guys see the content for this. So I'm super excited about it. But before that, for those of you that are listening that are actually members of the Expert's Guide to Becoming a Traveling Therapist, the course I released last August, I'm going to host a virtual coffee event. And this is going to be sort of like part of what the membership is. This is one of the things I'm going to be doing in the membership. So everybody that's in the course, you're going to get to just come hang out, and we're going to talk about, how the course is going, how your traveling's going, what are your roadblocks, what are your successes, we're going to network, we're going to see who's doing what, we're going to see where everybody's traveling, so maybe we can all meet up with each other. So I'm super excited about this. I want to hear, in this meeting, for those of you that are in the course, like what's going on and how can I help you and how can I add to the course to make things better. And I want to share with you guys the membership outline. I want to hear what you think and get your feedback and invite you guys to be founding members with me in the membership. Founding members are going to help me shape this thing. So I've got the content plan, but that's not set in stone. This is just like a rough sort of idea that I want to share with the founding members, and all of us do it together. So it involves events and experts and gosh, what else have I put in there? So many things. I'm a little like woo-woo, a little like into alternative type things. So every quarter I've got something planned like having a Reiki healer come in and do like a distance like training and healing on all of us. Another one is have somebody come in and do mandala exercises with us, things that as therapists we do with our clients, but maybe we don't do it for ourselves, or, since we're travelers, it's hard to get involved in a community that's offering things like that. So I want to fold that into the community. I'm super excited about it. One of the months I want to do like Zumba, like let's just have like a remote Zumba class. I do that already with my friend Gabrielle, who was on the last episode of the Traveling Therapist podcast. So, I'm excited. I can't wait to share it with you guys, especially those of you that are already in the course. If you're not in the course, come join the course, because I want to do events like this. I want to have these real personal meetups where we can talk about how everybody's doing and just have a community of support. So the link's in the show notes. And of course, I'll be bringing you more details about the membership when it's ready to go. And hopefully you guys will all want to become founding members. And I'm super excited about it. So that's what's going on. Is there anything else I want to tell you guys about? Yes, there is one more thing. So on May 11th, the public health emergency, the pandemic, is officially ending. So with that comes a lot of telehealth changes that we got comfortable with the pandemic. So I keep talking about this on here because I want everybody to know that, the pandemic did allow us to see our clients through FaceTime. It allowed us to call our clients and have phone sessions. The insurance companies all were approving telehealth. All of this is changing on basically May 12th. So I want to make you guys aware of that and remind you, check your local licensing boards to see if there's any changes. My licensing board used to say phone therapy was not therapy and you were not allowed to do it. So I don't know how many of us have been doing that now with the pandemic and the elderly population and technology not working, but you really want to check that stuff out because it's actually not a thing. It wasn't a thing before the pandemic. So, those types of allowances are definitely ending. FaceTime has been allowed, platforms like that, but you have to go back to a HIPAA compliant platform. Insurance companies are rapidly changing policies. I, of course, am keeping up with that because I have a membership called Bill Like a Boss, and I teach therapists how to bill insurance in their practice. So it is my mission right now to be totally on top of these changes, including modifiers. There's a modifier 93 that's for phone sessions that people have been using. You're probably not going to be able to use that if it's not allowed. So that's something to pay attention to. Location codes have changed. 10, 2, and 11 are the location codes that you should be using right now to denote telehealth sessions. Modifiers 95 is pretty much the acceptable modifier right now. But as I said in my last episode, Blue Cross Blue Shield is changing their telehealth policy. They are telling people if they find out that you are not residing in the state where you're delivering services, they are going to end your contract. I might do a special episode on this to talk a little bit more about it because I said it in the last episode and somebody messaged me and was like, I'm shook. I'm like freaking out. I'm moving to London in like 3 months and my whole caseload is Blue Cross Blue Shield. So I might do a little mini episode around my suggestions on what to do about that. If you'd like to hear that, email me, let me know. If you've got questions about this, email me, let me know. Maybe I'll do another listener episode around that. I did a listener episode a couple episodes ago and you guys seem to really like that. So I'm going to do more of those and maybe this will be the next topic. Okay, so that's all I've got. Keep traveling and please reach out anytime. Everything I talked about today will be in the show notes. If you want to join the Expert's Guide to Becoming a Traveling Therapist, I'd love to have you. I'd love to have you on this virtual coffee event that we're going to have, which is April 18th at 7:30 p.m. Eastern is when we're doing that event. So if you join the course or if you're a member of the course, be on the lookout for an email inviting you to that. Okay? All right, everybody. Take care, and I look forward to our next episode. Thank you so much for listening to the Traveling Therapist podcast. For show notes, links, and downloads, head over to thetravelingtherapist.com, where you'll be able to learn more about my journey, the courses I've created for you, and other exciting resources to make your dreams become a reality. If you've enjoyed this episode, please share with your traveling therapist friends, subscribe to the podcast, and if you loved this episode, please leave a review.